How's the trunk space? What's up, guys? This is my review of The Little Things, now in theaters and streaming on HBO Max. It's written by John Lee Hancock, and it features a trio of Oscar winners in Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. It's a psychological thriller set in 1990 Los Angeles as a high-profile detective and a washed-up sheriff try to track down a serial killer. So let's get into the good, the not-so-good, and everything in between to see if this movie can actually live up to the expectations of its star-studded cast.
It's the little things, Jimmy. It's the little things that rip you apart. It's the little things that get you caught.
Now, I was really excited for this movie. As a film geek, I thoroughly enjoy watching great actors do their thing. If I really like a performer, I make it an effort to see all of their movies, no matter what the genre is, and Denzel Washington is certainly one of those actors to me. Rami Malek, in the rise of his career, has been solid, and Jared Leto can be hit or miss, but there is no denying that he's a great talent, and I certainly think that this trio easily carried this movie along because I did enjoy it. So let's get into the positives. And to no surprise, I think you really need to begin with Washington, Malek, and Leto in the leads. Washington delivers the sincere performance of a troubled soul. He was once a big-time detective in LA, and when we meet him in this movie, he's a small-town sheriff in a rural county. It's a fall from grace that, as the film lays out the foundation for, you can just see more layering coming from Washington's performance. There were moments of dialogue, mannerisms, and other visual cues that Washington would deliver, and it was subtle, but I think it results in a character that you continue to learn more about as each scene passes, and that was really appealing to me. And Malek was great as well, as this young, energetic cop that thinks he is the one who can make a difference. I loved the personality that Malek brought to this admittedly straightforward character type. I think from his performances you can get a sense of the confidence in Detective Baxter, but it doesn't play into arrogance. He also has a level of righteousness to him, but it doesn't stretch into self-righteousness, and I think that was because of Malek's persona. Detective Baxter was young and sharp. He's a thinking man. He's always soaking in his surroundings. He's constantly processing situations, and I really enjoyed how Malek captured all of these character traits through his methodical delivery, his gestures, and even more so through his eye movements and his expressions. I think everything he did was able to add a lot of depth to a character model we've seen in cop thrillers before to make this character truly his own. And as for Jared Leto, I think he was solid as well. I think he brought a lot of charisma and definitely the needed seediness to this role to create that wild card character. He was oddly eccentric. I think he also provided a sinister amusement to the personality of Albert Sparma. He does over-embellish in places, but I do think it's minimal. I really enjoyed him in this role. There was something unassuming about this character, but there was also a lot more to this man than what we actually see on screen, and I think Leto, through his dialogue and the persona he created and just the tone of his delivery in places, really captured a man that was extremely thought-provoking and really effective for the needs of this story. I also really enjoyed the chemistry between these guys. Malek and Washington were great together. Leto and Malek had their moments as well. The interrogation sequence with all three of them, for me at least, was just riveting to see unfold. I mean, seeing great actors work off another can be amazing to watch, and in certain moments of The Little Things, I certainly think it was. Another positive, in my opinion, would be the story. It's not perfect, it does have some flaws that we'll get into later, but overall it was a compelling cop thriller. It explores obsession and the ramifications that can come from that through the characters and their decisions. It also delves into morals and ethics and trying to right your wrongs from the past, and I liked how all these layers were incorporated into the narrative in a very subtle way. Because to me, it was a plotline that did have some traditional pieces to it, but was able to, in the end, result in an unconventional thriller that just had an aura of authenticity to it. A story doesn't always have a clear right and wrong. In life, there are many gray areas, and really those are what make it feel like the real world. And I think that's the atmosphere this movie really created. Life isn't always cut and dry, and movies always want that clear-cut, definitive ending, so here the ambiguity was interesting and enjoyable. It was something something that will have you thinking after the end credits roll, and I think that's always something that's awesome for a movie to be able to accomplish. Now for the drawbacks, I think the overall flow of the story did have some issues. There were times the storyline kind of felt like it was more focused on setting up character moments than actually telling a cohesive narrative, because there were a handful of moments in the film where it didn't really feel like characters trying to solve a case as much as it felt like scenes to showcase actors conversing back and forth. I certainly think there were times this story as a whole felt like it was more intent and more focused on laying the foundation for the past, that the current events it tries to navigate through felt a little bit thin in development. I think it will kind of come down to your movie preference, and I think for the case of this film, had it not been for Washington, Malek, and Leto in the lead roles, that the intrigue in this one would have been greatly lessened. There were also a couple moments of odd editing. The way scenes were strung together was a little distracting at times. Also, in a given scene, a character, primarily Washington, would make a sudden change of expression, and the scene would cut immediately after that. It was a little odd and a little bit distracting. I mean, this is a film where you're trying to, in a sense, solve the murder with the characters, and it felt like intentional misdirection to me, yet it was so quick that it didn't really work for that, so I don't really know what the purpose of that was. Despite all of that, though, and as a fan of this genre of movie, I had a great time with this one. I enjoyed the dark path that it took me down, so I'll give The Little Things 85% on the meter. It's a capable cop thriller with some appealing LA locations. The big names do get in the way of the storytelling at times, however, it didn't keep the film from effectively luring me in. I think it's got a fantastic third act, certainly delivers some great performances, so I would say if the trailers are appealing to you, certainly give this movie a shot. Now for today's My Silver Screen recommendations, of course I've selected a few other cop thrillers. First I picked Zodiac from 2007 starring Downey Jr., Gyllenhaal, and Ruffalo. Next up I picked Seven starring Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. And finally I picked The Silence of the Lambs starring Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins. All three of these movies really dive into the case of a serial killer. They all deliver great performances. And if you haven't seen either of these movies, or any of these movies I should say, definitely give them a shot. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop it a thumbs up, leave a comment below. I'd love to talk movies with you guys. Share it with your friends, and without question, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can never miss a video. Here are some links to some recent reviews just in case you missed them. All my social media links and the link to our official website are down in the description below, and I'll catch you next time.